Chapter number 8, Introduction to Macroeconomics. This is the 8th chapter of your economics, that is standard 12th textbooks. What do you mean by the term macroeconomics? See, until unless we understand what is economics, it will be unfair on my part to define what is microeconomics. Economics is study of individuals, aggregates by giving some value or by associating some unit with it, right? So you have micro and macroeconomics. Micro, you study the individuals, right? And macro, we study the aggregates. Or when we have individual studies, we add up all those individual studies, we conclude that the answer to be in the macro terms. Basically, macro is a Greek term. Macro is a Greek term, right? And it's spelled M-A-K-R-O. It is a branch of economics which studies the behavior of all economic units combined together. Macroeconomics is a study of aggregates. It is the study of economic system or as a whole. So macroeconomics, it is the study of aggregates, all right? And microeconomics is it is also known as, macroeconomics is also known as the aggregate economics. The aggregate economics. So when you study the aggregates or the totals, basically what you say, the totals study is known as the aggregates, and that is why macroeconomics is also known as the aggregate economics. Macroeconomics is the study of the overall conditions of an economy: total output, total consumption, total income, savings, investment. See, that is like a chain. You have output, right? When you have output or production, what do people do? There is more of consumption. Alright? Then when there is more of consumption, why there is more of consumption? Because there is more of income. Alright? Why there is more of income? Because there is more of, right? You have more of employment, right? Then you have savings, you have investment, right? So this is how it goes, and this comes under the study of macroeconomics. Macroeconomics helps in understanding the functioning of the economy as a whole. It helps the government in framing economic policies. It also helps the government to solve unemployment problems and so on. So many studies are made with the help of macroeconomics. You study about the total output, the total consumption, the total income of the country, that is the national income, total savings and total investment, that is the aggregate savings and aggregate investment in the country taking place. You also study the total employment, if there are any problems relating to any of the issues, how the problems will be solved. It is all studied under macroeconomics. So it helps to solve all the problems. Let us go through the definition. An important definition given by Kenneth E. Boulding in his books Economic Analysis. Macroeconomics deals not with individual quantities as such, but with aggregates of these quantities. Not with individual incomes, but with the national incomes. Not with individual prices, but with the price level. Not with individual outputs, but with the national output. You have also another professors who have given their definitions. Now we will study the features of macroeconomics, and we will have the differences of macro and microeconomics. Let us first study the features of macroeconomics. Let's study the features. First feature of macroeconomics is study of aggregates. First thing that comes to our mind when we read the term macroeconomics is study of aggregates. The scope of macroeconomics is wide. Macroeconomics is concerned with the study of aggregates, that is the totals. It is concerned with aggregate supply, aggregate demand, total output, general price level and national income. So it does not deal with the individual units, but it deals with the units, or it deals with the total or the aggregate or the summation of the factors in the economy. Like aggregate demand, we studied individual demand, market demand. Now we will study the total demand, the aggregate supply, the total output, the general price level and the national income. All that is studied under macroeconomics. Next we will study lumping method. See, macroeconomics uses lumping method for the purpose of economic study. We have two methods. We have two types of economies. We have micro and macro. Microeconomy, it studies the slicing method, or it uses the slicing method, whereas this macroeconomics, it uses the lumping method. You know what the slicing method is? Slicing is you have a big thing and you are just studying, slicing it out and studying the parts of the economy, right? So this you have parts, and that is known as microeconomics. But when you study the whole thing, that is lump in together, this total if you study, that is known as the lumping method. Next is general equilibrium analysis. General equilibrium analysis, macroeconomics, is concerned with the behavior of aggregates and their interdependence. It is a general equilibrium analysis in which everything depends on everything else. See, a change in income level may result in change in savings and influence in everything. You have to have general equilibrium. How you determine equilibrium? When you study the micro, it is demand and supply, that is the market demand and market supply, that is. But when you study the general macroeconomics, you have the aggregate demand and aggregate supply, and where they intersect, you find out the general equilibrium analysis. I told you there is a whole chain that is being followed. If you have more demand, you will have more of supply. How you will have more of supply? You will have more of output or more of production. If you have more of production, there will be what? When you have more of production, you will have more of employment. More of employment means more of income. If there is more income, there is more consumption, then savings and investment, and then again the total output increases and income increases, and all those things take place in the economy. So that is how you determine the general equilibrium analysis, the investment, and which in turn may affect the employment, and finally economic growth. So this is, you get the general equilibrium analysis when you study the whole chain and you see how many factors are affecting each other. So this is the feature of macroeconomics. Next is useful for government policies. Useful for government policies. The study of macroeconomics is a highly useful study for the formulation and implementation of economic policies of the government. The government is concerned with the regulation of aggregates of economic system, such as the general price level, the general level of production, the general level of employment, and so on. Government policies means the general price level. Government sets the prices for certain goods, or general sets the prices. Government sets the prices or the reserved price for almost all the goods, that you don't have to sell below this point. Then it also decides the level of employment, right? So these are all helpful for the government, which you can only do with the help of macroeconomics. Alright? Depending upon the situation, the government can frame policies to deal with the situation in the interest of society. You have inflation. You see, you have many other policies which you will study. You have the credit policies, you have the monetary policies, fiscal policies, you have certain investment policies, you have inflation, deflation, that you all study, or government controls the inflation and all with the help of macroeconomic policies. So macroeconomics is very helpful when government sets up the policies. Next feature of macroeconomics is income theory. Income theory. The income theory is a major aspect of macroeconomic theory. A major task of macroeconomics is the determination of national income. Macroeconomics studies the factors determining national income and causes of the trends in national income. You will study how you will calculate the national income of the economy, what factors affect the national income, when national income increases, national income decreases, how it increases, how it is decreasing, why increasing, why decreasing, which factors are excluded, why others are included. So that is all under the study of income theory, and that is a study of macroeconomics. Next feature that we will study is employment theory. The employment theory is also a major aspect of macroeconomic theory. It studies the various functions responsible for employment and also the causes of unemployment. Therefore, the employment theory can help the government authorities to take suitable measures to control employment problem. Whatever the employment issues are, whether the country has gained the full employment situation or not, where we are lacking, if we face any employment problem, what could be the genuine problem. So all that is studied under macroeconomics, and it helps the government to form the policies, and it solves the problems of the employment in the country. Next is useful for microeconomic analysis. It is very useful for the microeconomic analysis also. The study of macroeconomics is indispensable for the purpose of microeconomic analysis. For example, the law of, you can have different laws that you have studied, formulated unless the experiences of individuals. No microeconomic law can be formulated without a pre-study of aggregates having a bearing of it. How you can say that? When you study the individuals, when you have studied individual natures, the individual incomes, right? This is individual 1, this is individual 2, individual 3, individual 4. These are 4 different individuals. You will study that they all behave in a different fashion. But rationally, if you think, wherever price increases, for example, the demand decreases. Even he thinks so, this one thinks so, I3 thinks so, and the 4th individual also thinks the same thing. But this is what? This is the general behavior. So with the help of general or macroeconomics, you can determine what? You can determine the nature of individuals. You can determine the nature of individuals when you have studied the economics on the macro level or on the higher level. This is how you can make the base for the microeconomics study also. Next is overall view of the economy. Overall view of the economy. The study of macroeconomics gives an overall view of the economy. It interlinks various aggregates so as to show the interrelationship between them. It tends to provide a more realistic view of the overall economy, which in turn helps in policy formulation and implementation. So it is not only the economy, that is the individual factors, but also it helps in the general policy formulation and implementation. It is helping every part of the economy, right from the overall production taking place in the economy to consumption to savings, investment, employment, everything. So it gives all the overall view of the economy, that how is the economy running, which factors are pushing the economy, which factors are pulling back the economy. So overall view of the economy can be generated with the help of macroeconomics and the various laws and policies that macroeconomics has taken out. So these were the features of macroeconomics. Let's study the next thing, the differences between microeconomics and macroeconomics. Firstly, first basis for distinction will be meaning for both. What is the meaning of microeconomics and macroeconomics? Microeconomics we will deal first. It deals with economic behavior of economic units such as firms, households, individuals, everything, right? So you study firms, you study households, and and we study the individuals, right? But what does macroeconomics studies? Macroeconomics is concerned with the economic behavior of aggregates such as general price level, total production output. You have the general price level, right? Output, right? You have the aggregate demand, aggregate supply. This is what you study under macroeconomics. Next basis of distinction is importance. It helps individual firms to take proper business decisions in respect of pricing, promotion, distribution, etc. It is useful to government for framing policies such as tax policies for particular industry and so on. So importance of microeconomics is it helps individual firms to take proper business decisions in respect of pricing, promotion and distribution. Alright, you have to deal individually. It is useful for government for framing policies for the particular industry. Your importance, it helps the government to formulate policies for individual firms, households or individuals. Alright, so this is the importance of microeconomics, that is you are basically help individuals firms to take proper decisions in respect of pricing, promotion and distribution. Now if we talk about the importance of macroeconomics, the study of macroeconomics helps in understanding the functioning of the economy as a whole. So basic importance is you are studying the economy as a whole with the help of macroeconomics. You are studying the economy as a whole with the help of macroeconomics. That is the importance of macroeconomics. Next is method of study. Method of study. Microeconomics studies each unit, that is by using slicing method, and it studies each unit, right, with the help of slicing method. Right, you slice down your economy into parts and then you study. And this is you study the aggregate of, how you study by aggregates, right? And you use which method? Lumping method. Alright, this is how you study. Next point of differentiation is approach. Alright, the approach macroeconomics analysis is based on partial equilibrium analysis. It considers other things as constant. For instance, law of demand, we study, you know what approach is? You have the study of other things remaining constant. Other things constant, that is ceteris paribus, and what you study, that is known as the partial equilibrium analysis. Why partial equilibrium analysis? Because you are leaving many things constant and you are just taking, suppose you study the demand, right? Demand is affected by what? Price. But what about price of the substitutes, income? They all remain constant. That is why it is known as the approach is study through partial equilibrium analysis. But when we talk of macroeconomics, macroeconomics analysis is based on general equilibrium, right? This is partial equilibrium and this is general equilibrium. You have the partial and there you have the general equilibrium analysis. In macroeconomics, everything depends on everything else. For instance, the income effect, savings effect, investment and so on. You have just one thing affecting the other thing. Other things constant, but here everything is affecting the other thing. If output increases, the employment will increase, employment increases, income increases, consumption increases, savings increase, savings is increasing, investment will increase. So this is how you study the general equilibrium, when one thing is affecting the other and everything is affecting every other thing. This is the macroeconomic approach. But microeconomic approach is you have the partial equilibrium. Only one factor is affecting the other. Rest are constant. Next differentiation is economic variables. Microeconomic deals with the behavior of micro variables such as individual demand, wages, industry, prices, product, and so on. So you are studying economic variables, you are studying the micro variables, right? You have the individual demand, individual supply, then you have the wages, prices of a particular product. That is all at the individual level. But if you talk about the economic variables and the macroeconomic, they are the macro variables, right? You study the macro variables, and those macro variables are what? Macro variables are, you have the suppose general price level, alright? You have total output, that is macro variables. Here you will study the micro variables under this. Last is allocation of resources. Allocation of resources. Microeconomics is concerned with the allocation of resources for the production of a particular product. Why you allocate resources? Where? For production of particular product, a particular commodity, alright? And how you allocate the resources? When you study the macroeconomics, you are allocating the resources in the economy as a whole, right? You are allocating for economy as a whole. So this is how you are allocating the resources for the macroeconomics. This is the differentiation we have studied between the microeconomics and the macroeconomics. This was chapter 8. We had done the meaning of macroeconomics, right? We have many definitions given by different renowned economists. We have the definition by Boulding, Hansen, and McConnell. And with the help of definitions, we had derived certain features of macroeconomics, which are supposed to be very important, because until and unless you know the features or the basic fact about the macroeconomics, it will be difficult for us to continue with the other chapters. So in order to know the other chapters well, we should know the basic concept of what macroeconomics is. So the definition and the features will help you to know what exactly macroeconomics is, and we have studied the differences of micro and macroeconomics at large. So it is very clear on certain grounds that what approach, what study the microeconomics follows and what study or approach the macroeconomics follows.